Hi, my name is Brett Woodford with Phoenix Games of Jacksonville, and today we're doing a deck profile on Spectral Duke Dragon.
Alright.
We'll start off with your starting Vanguard, which is Black Dragon Well Vortimer. Pretty basic starter for Spectral Duke since he starts off your ride chain. Next we'll start with our trigger suite. 16 triggers as normal, being 4 heals. We went with a 5-7 split on draws to crits. 7 crit triggers that are good for doing damage, making sure that your opponent never really knows what's going to happen, and as soon as you get to 4 damage, as soon as you get them to 4 damage, now they really have to start guarding and start worrying about, are they going to crit, are they going to finish the game right here. The 5 draw triggers are for hand advantage. I mean, they're only 5k shields, but in this deck, hand advantage is paramount. It really is. And being able to have 5 draw triggers is really solid because you always want your hand to be full. You always want to have options. You always want to be able to know that you can fill your field, and that way you have cards to discard, you have units to discard to the drop zone to stand up Spectral Duke. And that pretty much covers the triggers. I'm running more of the Falcon Knights just because they have the come into play effects, and so when you superior call with your ride chain, with your grade 2 riding your grade 1, or with Spectral Duke, you get a little bit of a bonus, and then it's an easy sack to Spectral Duke as you start going off and restanding.
So, no stands, correct?
No, there are no stands in this build. While stand triggers are extremely relevant in other decks, in this one it doesn't seem to be as effective. You pressure their hand by making very solid columns and making them guard with the prospect of you hitting a crit trigger, or making them guard with Spectral Duke standing and attacking a second time. So the stand triggers really aren't something that I think needs to be in this deck.
Okay.
The crits are really where you're going to do most of your damage.
Alright.
And that does it for triggers. Your grade 1 suite, your standard for Sky of Darkness, that's what kicks off your ride chain. You want this guy in your hand, you mulligan until you have him, or you mulligan and hope that you get him. This guy is what really kicks off your deck. Searching the top 7 for your grade 2 or your grade 3 is insanely powerful, and that is really what kicks off this deck. 4 perfect guards, don't need to say much there. They're amazing, and when you draw that many cards, you see them a lot.
Having that guard advantage, especially in this deck, is key.
Oh yeah. Being able to draw off those 5 draw triggers and being able to hit perfect guards, especially when you're on the defense and you hit draw triggers and you draw into perfect guards, or you draw into really good cards to pitch with perfect guards, is amazing. And that draw triggers in this deck on the defense are almost more devastating than hitting heal triggers on the defense, because you get an extra card, you get 5,000 power to your Vanguard, and now it turns a 5k shield, that draw trigger, into a 10k shield basically, because you put the power on, you get the 5k shield, and so now that one card still doubles its defense, and it's really amazing. And then you get the potential to draw into more relevant cards. Only 3 8k boosters. I like to make room for the Slagle Dagger, which is, it's only a 7k boost, but with your counterblast it can be a 9k or more, and it's really solid when you want to really put on pressure, because a lot of times you'll get to 5 damage. 2 damage will be used for Spectral Duke's standing ability, and you generally can do that twice, and then you'll have a 5th damage that you're either going to use on Slagle Dagger, or you can use it on the grade 2 Vivian. But it's just really good to have the threat of doing it and making a really solid column if need be. And the last grade 1 spot is for Little Battler Tron, who is your Vanguard booster. You're going to be superior calling a lot. You're going to have a full field most of the time. So she's going to be turned on, and you're going to be having a 10k boost. And a 10k boost is an amazing thing to have. And that's why I run 2 of them. That way, with all the retiring you do, I like to be able to have 2. That way I can retire it and not worry and just slam another one and still be able to put on massive pressure with my Vanguard. I like my Vanguard swinging for 21.
Yeah,
and
who doesn't?
Yeah, and when Spectral Duke's in 11, because he's got Black Dragon Knight in his soul, and you boost with the 10K, I mean, 21's a big number. And it's big enough that you can hit a lot of cross rides. I mean, with the exception of Kaiser Vermilion the Blood, when it'll be coming out soon in the US here, actually
Tomorrow,
next weekend.
No, it's Saturday.
Pre-release is Saturday, or sneak peek is Saturday, and then next Friday it's actually legal.
Yeah.
But
who has a build?
that has the capability to get to all the 11Ks. And I mean, Dragonic Overlord gets hit. You can still hit MLB, even though he's a 12. I mean, you're still boosting for 21. They have to guard. That's it. And that covers the grade 1 suite, and it's only 14 grade 1s, but it's more than enough. And so now we get to move to our grade 2s. Standard for Black Dragon Knight Vortimers. If Scout of Darkness is what kicks off the chain, he's what starts the mid game of your chain. I mean, when you can retire 1 unit to Superior Call 2, it doesn't even matter if you hit triggers. It doesn't matter what you hit. If you hit grade 1s or triggers, there's still free boosters, and you just got a +1 to your field. You sack 1 unit, you have a 9K Vanguard, and for a grade 2, a 9K with an ability is great. It's about standard. And when you can Superior Call 2 for 1, I'm all over it. It means that you can populate your board for very little cost, and you can maintain cards in your hand. And in this game, we all know that hand advantage is game advantage. That's what it is. It's being able to keep cards in your hand to guard with and still be able to put on pressure on your opponent is amazing. The next grade 2, talk about Superior Calling. This card will almost always get guarded because your opponent does not want you to Superior Call for a counterblast of 1. I mean, you're going to take the damage. You have a limit break of 4 on Spectral Duke. You want to take that damage on Vivian. Or you want to take that damage, and if you can use it on Vivian on 2, if you don't hit your chain and you throw her on the Vanguard spot, they almost assuredly have to overguard, just because they don't want you to do that. I mean, there's a chance that you're going to hit a trigger or a grade 1, but when you can boost with her and leave a column open so that you can Superior Call when you hit the Spectral Duke or you hit Gigantic Destroyer, it's
ridiculous,
devastating. It really is. I mean, it's an extra damage that they just weren't expecting to take that turn. Even if they know the matchup, they know that you can hit that grade 3 or even a vanilla 2 to do an extra point, and that's just something that they're not prepared to do on your turn 2, especially if you go first and you slam a grade 3 off of your grade 2 ride. That hurts. And when you're drawing cards and you just have this massive hand, it really hurts to be able to pressure them that much on turn 2. Like, it's really amazing. That's why I played 3 of them. I only played 2 grade 2 vanillas. I made room for 2 kind of tech cards. So there's 2 vanillas, which may move up to 3, but I end up taking one out for another Holy Bow, just because it's just so devastating. And then the tech cards, Major Calamity Trip is your damage on Flipper. Every clan has one. In this deck, because the counterblasts are just so precious, they're so limited, you really want some way to utilize your counterblast more. And when you hit with this, it's almost like hitting a heal trigger, because you get one more restand with Spectral Duke, or you can get an extra call with Vivian, or you can use Slagle Dagger in the late game, and it turns really amazing. And so I really advocate playing one of. The Lop-Ear Shooter was a tech call by me and some of the guys I've been playing with, because you get a lot of Superior Calling, and when you can Superior Call a Lop-Ear, you discard and you just get a free card off the top. You look at the top 3 cards and call one into a rear guard spot. And it's really versatile because you can look at 3 cards, you see a grade 3, a grade 2, and a grade 1, and if your front row is already filled up, you can call that grade 1 for a boost. You know, or you can call it grade 2 because maybe it's the vanilla grade 2, you get a 10K and you get an intercept. And it's a really solid card, and it really helps you populate your board for a very cheap cost. And it works great with Garmore, who's our singleton, and I'll go into that here in just a second. And that should bring us to our grade 3 lineup. Our grade 3 lineup. Spectral Duke is the key to this deck. I mean, that's what the deck's called, is the namesake of the deck. For those of you who don't know, Spectral Duke is amazing. He gets to restand and attack a second time. There's a couple things that I really like about him. First off, you get the Superior Call with him. You get to sack a unit. It's the same thing as a Black Dragon Knight. You get the Superior Call with him, and you turn 1 unit into 2 units, which really feeds into his Sacrifice 3 effect, where he gets to stand a second time. You'll sacrifice 3 units and stand him again. He loses Twin Drive, but it doesn't matter. It's amazing.
And a hitter.
Oh yeah, he's a real heavy hitter. And that kind of goes into stand triggers a little bit, where the stand triggers are really good at pressuring hands. And if you can pressure their hand enough, they have to just discard, discard, discard. Eventually, they're going to run out of cards or run out of relevant cards, and then one of those hits is going to go through. And so if on your first attack you hit 2 crit triggers, or even 1, that trigger is going to stay on till the end of turn. And then maybe they guard, maybe they didn't, but either way, that next attack is going to come through for a minimum of 15 if Black Dragon Knight isn't in the soul. And if he is in the soul, it's going to come through for 16. And that's before your single drive off his restand. One of the things I really like to do with Spectral Duke is I like to take Spectral Duke and Little Battler Tron, and when I have other units, I like to attack with Spectral Duke on his own without boosting when I know that I'm going to restand him. That way he's going to be an 11k boosting, or 11k unboosted, and then I'll get my drive checks, and if I hit something, you have to really fear me hitting something, because the 11k, if I hit something and you don't guard, I'm going to get through. And then I'm going to restand and still be able to swing for, it's going to be a 21 base, and if I hit a trigger, it's going to be a 16, you know, or a 31. And that's ridiculous. Devastating. If you don't perfect guard that, you're done for. That's one thing I really like doing, unless I know that I'm going to sack my rear guard. If I know I'm going to sack my rear guard, I'll make sure that I attack and boost. And then just make sure I sack my rear guard, and I know that I'll replace him next turn. But if I'm going to keep him, a lot of times I'll just attack here, and then on my next attack I'll stand and boost. And that, it gives you the option that if you hit triggers, you're going to get through here. And then when you restand, if you don't hit triggers, then you can still make a final push for, you know, 21 instead of only attacking for 11, and then they can guard with the 5k and not sweat it. And that should be all on Spectral Duke. Gigantic Destroyers are almost vanilla. I mean, they're 12k beaters, which is really good for hitting over like Maelstrom or MLB, any of the cross rides really, except for the 13ks. But when you boost him, he becomes a 20 row. When you can vanilla boost him, he's a 20 row, and that's pretty solid. And then the singleton grade 3 I'm running is Garmore. He may actually go up to a 2 of. I may replace a destroyer with another Garmore, just because in the late game, when you get guys that are pounding out your rear guards and they just make you retire all your rear guards, especially against MLB when they just do retire your rear guards.
Yeah, that's, oh, I hate that.
Oh, seriously. But he's really good because when you hit limit break, he's a 15k attacker, and when you slam him on the Vanguard, you counterblast 2, and that's why Lop-Ear Shooter's in here, is I'll go get Lop-Ear Shooter, call it, and because it's called from the deck, you get to discard and then call the top 3. And so if you slam into a Destroyer or a Spectral Duke or even a 10k Vanilla, 10K Vanilla Grade 2, you've just now repopulated your field off of really one card and a counterblast. I mean, you still have to ditch a card, so really you spent 2 cards off getting a full board, full attacking field again. You know, with all the cards you draw, you should be able to have the grade 1s, or even grade 0s maybe to boost, and by the time you're slamming Garmor, you're really pushing for game. Either you're going to push for game with restanding Spectral Duke or slamming in for 15 unboosted. So you're really able to put a lot of pressure on the late game. And by the time you do that, they probably only have a few cards in their hand, and a 15k attacker they really have to guard. Especially if you've got Tron in the back, because that boosts for 35, and that's massive. When you can attack for 35 every turn with your Vanguard, that hits hard, and that really hurts. You only have 4. Your opponent only has 4 perfect guards.
Yeah.
And that really covers a Spectral Duke. It's a really solid deck. It's the first deck I learned on, and I really love the deck. I love card advantage. In any game, card advantage just wins. Card advantage gives you options, and with those options, making correct decisions wins games.
Absolutely.
And so having the options is paramount. And I really love that you can make this a little bit of a toolbox deck. You can make it just a heavy hitter, and with the
very versatile.
Oh, it is very versatile, especially with the draw triggers and just a really good suite of grade 3s. And even the grade 2s do a lot of work in the mid game. And I really enjoy the deck. I really advise people to play it. It's a really good deck to learn on. That's actually what we use to teach people Vanguard. We generally give them Spectral Duke and let them see the power of this ride chain. Because when you hit the right, or when you don't hit the ride chain, it's a normal deck. You're playing a normal deck and go grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 and start attacking. But when you hit this ride chain, you just blow up, and it is so ridiculous. Just the dirty things you can do with this deck, and it's amazing.
All right. Thank you so much, Brad, and I'll be seeing you at the release.
All right, well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys. Be sure to drop by Phoenix Games. We'll teach you how to play.
All right, thanks.
Bye.